You are now watching the ODTV.
What's good, YouTube? Your boy Brock Brown, the ODTV. Hey, yo, man. That's the pay-per-view, my man. Listen to what I'm saying to you. That's the pay-per-view. I don't know how long this video gonna be, but that's the pay-per-view. I'm gonna keep saying that. Death to pay-per-view. Listen to what I'm saying to you. I want you to follow me on this. If Canelo Alvarez is the biggest boxer in the world, I'll say this again. If Canelo Alvarez is the biggest boxer in the world, not named Floyd Mayweather, if Floyd Mayweather is not currently active, we don't know if Floyd gonna come out or retirement or anything like that. But Canelo Alvarez is the star. After him and Floyd fought, Floyd told you Canelo Alvarez was the next big thing in boxing, and so it came true. Now, understand something. Canelo Alvarez, not only is he the biggest boxer in the world that's active, Canelo Alvarez has one of the most amazing legacies in the Floyd Mayweather era of any boxer out there. You can't put three people who have a better resume than Canelo Alvarez in the Floyd Mayweather era. There ain't. You can't find it. Nope, I don't care where you go. I don't care where you go. Canelo resume better than Klitschko resume. Canelo resume better than Manny Pacquiao resume. Yes, it is. To all of Manny Pacquiao world fans, oh, I love Manny Pacquiao. There's nothing wrong with that. Manny Pacquiao is a great fighter and he's a Hall of Fame champion. But at the same time, Canelo Alvarez, his resume is better than Manny Pacquiao's. So if the biggest boxer in the world can accept facts, the biggest Latino company for boxing in America and arguably in the world, in Golden Boy, if they can accept facts, how come you can't accept facts when the facts cost you less? Help me out with that. How is that? How are you thinking logically? How are you being reasonable? You're not. The facts that I'm giving you cost you less. So if Terrence Crawford and Amir Khan is pay-per-view, right, and Amir Khan quit in that fight, took the check and ran. If Adrian Broner got in the ring, got his ass whooped by Manny Pacquiao, and said, y'all know I beat that boy, and then said, fuck boxing, I'm going to the streets, right? if that's what transpires in boxing, that's because there's still groups of people out here who don't want to bet it all on the fighter. So death to pay-per-view, A, because it costs me personally more money. Death to pay-per-view, 2, B, because it's better for the fighters. It's like NFL guaranteed money. You got a 5-year, $100 million contract with $5 million guaranteed. That don't sound right. Do it. Five-year, $100 million contract, $40 million guaranteed. That sounds about right for the NFL. But wouldn't you want to negotiate with somebody and agree on a flat rate? No, because one day I could become a superstar from knocking somebody out or beating the right person or unifying the division, and then I could get the pay-per-view percentage. But pay-per-view is dying. In the landscape where Floyd Mayweather tapped the chins of millions, we call it 400,000 and 320,000 and 425,000. We call them those successes now because the landscape has changed. So if the landscape has changed and pay-per-view just ain't selling what it used to sell, why would you, as a fighter, Why would you, as a professional boxer, still roll the dice on pay-per-view? It's like this. I give you an easy one. The day women start working the corner every night, whoever had a peep show on that block, that shit was dead, cuz. You understand what I'm saying? You can't have a better deal on the same street and make less money. That's not how it works. Like, people trust the people at the stores, but they don't trust the people on the streets, right? The store is guaranteeing it. The store is guaranteeing this is authentic 100% what we say it is. But the person on the street, you feel like they're trying to hustle off their goods. Only advertisement they got is their mouth and what they tell you right there on the spot. So pay-per-view is a fucking promise. And pay-per-view is exactly what Barry Hearn was talking about. Now the fighters got control over there in the UK and in America. All that's thanks to Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather took the power back. Well, he took the power for the first time ever in the history of boxing. No boxers never had the power. A boxer might have had power for himself and his team. Certain boxers throughout the history of boxing might have had power, but Floyd Mayweather gave the boxer the power. So now these networks are bidding over different fighters. They all got their different network deals. But this is what I'm explaining to you. Al Heyman put on free boxing. That's Al Heyman's gift to America. I mean, as long as 50% of his fights were good, I wouldn't look at that shit like it was exactly what it is. Shit. You know what I mean? Most of those PBC Friday nights is shit. All right, so what I'm saying is this. When you get to the pay-per-view level, ain't y'all now guaranteeing the product? Because y'all charging us for it. Right? Like the store. So why y'all hustling the fighters? And trying to sell them a dream. Trying to sell them a profit. Oh yeah, if you do this, if you do these many numbers, you get this much money. That's bullshit when somebody else is willing to pay you up front. Tyson Fury got his money up front, right? Now he just got to fulfill the contractual obligations. So why is change so hard to accept? Like I said, we talked about the nationality. We talked about the race. Why don't the PBC just lower their price? It don't cost what it used to cost. It just don't. Because everybody makes it now, Al. Everybody makes it now. Everybody is selling the same shit you selling. But now they selling it for less. They overpaying their fighters. So that means eventually you'll lose fighters. ESPN is going to have to get with it or get lost. ESPN signed a deal with Tyson Fury after Deontay Wilder when Joshua was ready to come to America. Because now there's a cash cow. Now the British market is going to be here. The UK market is now going to come in droves to watch Joshua. If Al Heyman can make him like Tyson Fury, or if Tyson Fury can take Deontay Wilder's belt, then he can expose Tyson Fury to those same British fans. And he got the streaming app where if the price is right and it's not $60, $75, $100, if they don't let their greed get in the way, they can maintain. But like everybody on the street right now, everybody out here is selling something. Everybody on the same street. ESPN on one street, DAZN on the same street, PBC on the same street. And they're all selling loose cigarettes. Each one of them selling loose cigarettes. And the PBC tells you, we'll give you 3 cigarettes for $2. Sometimes ESPN charge you 3 for 2. Sometimes ESPN charges you that. But other times, ESPN charges you 50 cents a piece. The Zone is always charging 50 cents a piece. Just understand what I'm saying, people. It has to be death to pay-per-view. That's first and foremost. Boxing is a commodity. People love boxing. But you shouldn't hustle the fighter and make the fighter tell him gamble on yourself, bet on you, and then if the fighter don't do XYZ views, he don't have his money. Wouldn't you rather have that 5-year, $100 million contract, 100 million guaranteed? Or 2-year, $20 million contract, 20 million guaranteed? Wouldn't you rather have that? And the only way you don't do that is if you break your contractual obligations. Wouldn't you love that as a fighter? So I call this joint death to pay-per-view, but this is the boxer side. This is the boxer side. That's who should be like, yo, man, I'm thinking about going to the Zone. Because like I said, I can only use the information I have. Deontay Wilder said that they offered him $100 million, right? You feeling me? Fuck with me on this, on what I'm about to say. Deontay Wilder said out his own mouth. Deontay Wilder's handler said out his own mouth. His manager, his Shelly Finkel, they all said the same thing, that he was offered $100 million. Now follow me on this. They said that Deontay Wilder made $9.5 million. That's the rumor out there versus Dominic Brazil. DAZN offered him $20 million for the same fight, correct? And when Shelly Finkel was previously asked about it, what did he say? Or I'm not. I don't want to quote Shelly Finkel as saying that because it could have been Mauricio Suleiman, the WBC president. It could have been him. It could have been Suleiman. Suleiman might have been the one who said that. No, I don't think Suleiman would make that statement. But somebody said it was something close to it. Now, if he really did get $9.5 million, I don't know how true that is. That's a rumor. Why would he turn down $20 million? That means it sounds like what Fury was saying is kind of true. Maybe Deontay did sign a 3-fight deal before Fury ever signed his deal. I don't know. But the point I'm making is the mystery to me that would shine so much light on that heavyweight situation would be if Tyson Fury tell the world what Eddie Hearn offered him, that flat fee. I would love to know what that number is. I would love to know what that number is. I really do. And if anybody do know, please tell me. Because Ortiz was offered 6. And I'm talking about the DAZN deals. I heard everything from $4.5 million to $6 million for Big Baby. I don't even know what Devin Haney contract is or Tevin Farmer. But I know Danny Jacobs was fucking with the PBC at one time. I know that much. So my whole thing is this, man. For the boxers to grow to the next level, see, Floyd Mayweather set the platform. He set the stage for boxers to have some control or most of the control depending on who you is. He got all the control because he is the status quo. Even though he's the exception and not the rule, because nobody else can get to his level. The closest we got is Canelo Alvarez. He's the closest thing we got to Floyd Mayweather. I was reading an article, I think it said like 6 million pay-per-view buys, $800 million over the last some odd years that he generated or something. Go do the math, cuz. Ain't nobody else putting out units like that other than Floyd. I mean, we got to sit back and we got to take a look at what's really going on, people. We're being sold a product. There's no reason for nationalism or favoritism unless it's two fighters in the ring fighting. Then you can like your guy. You can scream at the top of your lungs. You can go horse. You can bet the ranch. Because that's the only time we can do those things. Is when the two people in question, whether it's Earl Spence and Keith Thurman, or Earl Spence and Bud Crawford, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, no matter what it is, Lomachenko, Tank Davis, Boo Boo Andrade and Canelo Alvarez, Andrade and Charlo. I would love that. I would love that. Oh man, I would love that. But I like Andrade in that fight. But irregardless, I don't get this. I'm trying to understand. You know, I was a kid who watched a lot of boxing. My mom used to put on the pay-per-view fights, the Tyson fights, and that's when I watched the Tyson fights. Learned about George Foreman and all these other people coming up. The age of YouTube hit. I was around for it, and I got back into boxing. I started watching the divisions I like. I catch the big fights in other divisions. And from what I can see, boxing is all fucked up. And pay-per-view has to die for it to go to the next level. Because nothing costs what it used to cost. How can pay-per-view still? It can't. Because if Floyd is the golden standard, if Floyd is the measuring stick and he's $100, you can't tell me that you can't show me any numbers, statistical numbers. You can't show me anything that says people care about these other fighters enough that you can charge $75 and $100. Because if you could, then you wouldn't be doing less than $1 million every fucking time, less than 100,000 with really good fights. I mean, less than 500,000 with really good fights, less than 500,000. You wouldn't be doing that. You wouldn't be doing less than 500,000 pay-per-view buys with really, really good fights if the market wasn't fucked up. And why is the market fucked up? The market is fucked up from oversaturation, from people overcharging for bad fights. I'm not saying that everybody on pay-per-view is a bad fight. Duh, no. That's not what we're saying. But what I am saying, what I am trying to make you understand is that having bad fights on pay-per-view 30% of the time, 40% of the time, 50% of the time, whatever the ratio is, fights that people didn't tune in for, that don't have good sales, that diminishes the whole market of it, period. Those sales get totaled up in everything as well. Maybe not that personal fighter, so now this fighter gets put on a different pedestal because in what's now called success in the absence of Floyd Mayweather in the Floyd Mayweather era, you have a situation where you got nobody buying your shit. That's what it is, man. You got nobody buying your shit. That's the people talking. Everybody loves Michael Jackson. They still buying his shit. Everybody loves Tupac. They still buying his shit. And he dead. You on your fucking way out and you still trying to charge top dollar. Maybe that's their mentality. Because we on our way out, we trying to charge top dollar. HBO got this shit started and they dead. They dead as dead, cuz. They is, man. HBO bowed out because they crunched the numbers too. What Al Heyman is doing is trying to fight the machine. The machine is the new wave coming in. Understand something. I want everybody to understand this. I want everybody to understand this. Al Heyman is hip hop. Listen, this is a metaphor. I'm not trying to say he's the greatest thing in the Black American musical era. I'm not trying to say that. I'm making a metaphor. DAZN is fucking mumble rap. DAZN is mumble rap. And if it ain't mumble rap, it's drill rap. It's what comes before mumble rap. And I know some people ain't gonna catch that because you might be from another country, but just do a little bit of homework on American hip hop. How it changed from actual music to something called drill rap that was popular in Chicago, centered around a lot of violence and useless bullshit. And now it's something called mumble rap, where you're dealing with a litany of individuals who aren't the most talented, who use effects and things like that on their voice, and they more so sell a harmony instead of giving you actual music and trying to touch your soul and beautiful words and shit like that. You know what I mean? Now this is more about how mumble rap is more about how it sounds. Drill rap was more about what it was. But hip hop was the essence of rhythm. When people loved music, it was a creation. It was something that it didn't exist before it existed. Anytime something like that comes into the world and it just spreads out and everybody finds a form of it to touch on to that they themselves like, that's a special thing to civilization. That's a special thing to culture. That's a special thing to the evolution of the human species. And boxing is something that a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people love. Why diminish it with making people feel like they got ripped off? Especially when your competitor's number is not what your number is. What are you selling that's so much better than everybody else that you can charge top dollar? It has to be death to pay-per-view, people. It has to be. That's the only way boxing can grow. And like I said, I didn't say it has to be death to the PBC. The PBC need to get a streaming app and drop their pay-per-views down to $50 or something. I bet you they get more buys. No, they might not make what they making right now. But if you're trying to sustain longevity, if you're trying to be around at the end of the movie, man, you better get along with what's going on. I don't care. I remember when cell phones changed over and they had the new screens and all the new fresh hotness and the Androids and all that stuff came out and the iPhones. It was so many people who would always say, no, I'm cool with what I got. They could have had the old Nokia phone with the green screen and Snake on it. But because they had that so long and they had all their numbers in it and they mama had that number and they ex-girlfriend, in case she stopped messing with the dude she messing with, choose to call them, they got the same number that she had before. Some people don't want change or they scared of it because they don't know what's going to happen with it. And I'm not saying that they scared to change it to PBC. If they're not scared of change, I feel like maybe they're going to milk the pay-per-view game until they have no other option. But you could get ahead of this thing. You can get out in front of it. And you can actually compete with the same platform as your competitor. Because the people who selling boxing got streaming apps, and the price for these streaming apps are cheaper than yours. And what's fucking ill about the streaming app is that what's ill about the streaming app is you got other sports on all these streaming apps, and not only do you have other sports on there, it's cheaper. You can get 3 months of DAZN, however many months of ESPN Plus for what Bud Crawford fight costs. And I'm not trying to shit on Bud Crawford. Because like I said, ESPN still using the same trick. They still using the same trick because that's pay-per-view. So they guilty too. They guilty to not, like I ain't saying they supposed to do the PBC no favors, but goddamn, tip them off. Completely leave that alone. HBO started this shit and they have bowed out. HBO started this shit and they stepped out. I forgot what movie it's from. It's not even from a movie, I don't think, but yeah, I think it is. But he said cities fall in the chronology into which they were built. So HBO had to be here to fall. And they were here first. Showtime had to be here to fall. PBC had to be here to fall. DAZN just got here. And DAZN's way of doing business. I'm going to tell y'all this, too, because I'm about to be done with this. For y'all people who hate DAZN, just hate DAZN, I mean, you hate DAZN and can't stand DAZN, and you're American, and you go on the internet and you say all these things that you say about DAZN, I want you to understand one simple thing, my brother, my sister. I need you to understand this. I really need you to understand this. When football season come around, DAZN gonna clean the, listen, they gonna do their thing. I'm telling you, DAZN gonna do their thing. Football is big shit, people. NBA. I mean, like, all I'm saying is this. I'm not saying that death to the PVC. I said death to PPV. Fuck pay-per-view. I never said fuck the PVC. I said fuck pay-per-view. If the PBC wants to say, no, pay-per-view is our way of life, that's how we get the big bucks, and it ain't going nowhere. If that's the case, then fuck the PBC. If ESPN wants to do that, then fuck ESPN. Because there is now somebody here who's giving it to me for less. And they might not have all the good fighters or all the great fighters, but they got some of them. And they're continuously trying to ascertain more. This is a global corporation that's really at competition with ESPN. They are a global corporation. And they are at, that's, ESPN is really their competition. That's why they both got the same platforms. Except for DAZN don't got the TV syndication deal that ESPN and Disney got. That's the only difference. But why would they have that if they charging what they charging for their product? Their product is to be like Netflix, to be like Hulu. You got to understand something. That's an even better deal than ESPN, who charge you this little bit of money. Then when a good fight do arise, you want to charge me $60, $65, $70, $75. Hold on now. That's they say, but they say, all right. What's the catch? That's the catch with ESPN. PBC will give you free boxing, but what's the catch? Oh, you got to pay $7,500 for a pay-per-view. You understand what I'm saying? It's simple. It's simple. Death to pay-per-view, people. Death to pay-per-view. And it's not because it don't benefit us, but it's just because mumble rap is the new wave. It's not because we didn't love it when it lasted. It's just because mumble rap is the new wave. Some people can't stand mumble rap, myself included. I can't stand it. It irks my skin. It makes it crawl. But what I'm explaining to you is that's the new wave. You got all these other people who like it. You got all these people who do like it. And what I'm saying is about sports is people gonna fuck with sports regardless of how you try to do this. People's gonna fuck with sports, yo. They're going to bang with sports. That's not, nobody's gonna change that. Competition between grown men, grown women, shit, competition between teenagers. People watch a high school football game. You see exactly what I mean. I'm just saying, man, you gotta get your mind right here. You gotta get your head on straight. You got to understand that for boxing to grow, for this sport to be great, we got to utilize the technology to the fans, our benefit. The burden is on the corporation to keep the talent happy, to keep the talent paid accordingly. That's on the corporation. That's not on me as a fan, because the fan don't come knock on my door and say, yo, you gonna pay for my fight this weekend? No, the corporation sell me that shit. They sell me the fight on Saturday night. The fighter participates, and for his participation, he gets paid. If all money green here in America, why do it matter where it come from? That's a question only a fighter can answer. But on the reverse side of that coin, being a fan, I decide how much I pay. And if you tell me I can't see that fight unless I pay this amount, oh, that shit's out the door. That shit's out the door. Because there's other people who got a better deal than that. Take the DAZN off the board. If ESPN pay-per-view price is low, cheaper than PBC's, then if I had to pay for a pay-per-view, I would wait till ESPN had on a big-time pay-per-view, and I would pay for that one because it's cheaper. Or if I had to choose between the two, I'm definitely picking the cheapest one. If I had to pick between the two, I'm going to pick the cheapest one. No, but the cheapest one might not be the best fight. But who say the more expensive one is? But the people selling it. It's like water. It's like water. Let me get $1 water, Pop. You walk in the Poppy store. Let me get $1 water, Pop. Or do you go in there and you buy a Voss water? Do you get a bottle of Poland Springs? Do you get Evian? Fiji water? What is it that you purchase? Or do you wait until you get in the house and put some ice in a cup and get some water out your faucet? Where are you going to get your water from? How much you going to pay for your water? That's the question that you need to answer. And no matter what your answer is, how can you still feel like pay-per-view is a good part of any of it? Charging the most money, whether it was the best fight in a motherfucking decade, charging the most money for it? How is that right? And you ain't guaranteed the fighters but X amount. They said Tyson Fury was guaranteed $3 million. Deontay Wilder was guaranteed $4 million. Wouldn't you want to get your bread up front? Wouldn't you want to get your bread up front? I know I would. With the possibility that if my pay-per-view do well, you give one guy 3, one guy 4, with the possibility that if they pay-per-view do well, they get more. When you could negotiate with the competition, and they're going to give you a flat fee, that's a ridiculous amount. And at the end of it, you can only feel bad like, damn, that joint did big numbers. That joint did buku numbers. And they're going to make more. They're going to make more off it than I did. Because that joint they did gigantic numbers. It went crazy. The sales went crazy. So shouldn't you be in a position where you be like, at least I got what I agreed to up front? So like I said, I'm not any of the boxers I named throughout the whole video. It's not personal with any of them boxers, but I'm just giving a scenario. GGG had a decision to make. Let's use him as a more recent example as well. Deontay Wilder, GGG, they had decisions to make. From what I understand, GGG was courted by everybody. But he signed with DAZN. And then on every DAZN fight, that, like I said, this is the Floyd Mayweather era where every boxer has a promotional company that is working with the corporation putting the fight on. Don't you think the boxers who are making the most money, their corporations are going to benefit the best? Unless there's another exception, not the rule, another exception like Floyd Mayweather that comes into the game. So like I said, I'm not saying boxers look at yourself and say, oh, I'll never be Floyd. I'm not saying that. I'm saying aim high, Willis. Aim for another fucking universe, and if you fall on the moon, okay. If you fall on the sun, even better. But what I'm explaining to you is you got to get the best you can get as a fighter. We all understand that. But us as fans, we need to do what's more cost effective for our life. That don't mean we don't love boxing. That don't mean that we the reason why boxing is in a bad state. If it ain't y'all, it's the motherfuckers y'all work for. Because it ain't us. We don't make decisions. We beg. We ask. We scream and tell you we want it, we want it, we want it. And we either get what we ask for or we don't get jack shit. But there's always a pay-per-view going on. I'm just saying, man, I like Mikey Garcia. But Mikey Garcia versus Danny Garcia, I'd rather watch the highlights than pay for that shit. Unless y'all do something with the price. That can't be no $75, no $65. You can call me what you want. I can be cheap when other people is putting on fights for less. If a fire stick costs $40, a fire stick costs $40. If a fire stick costs $60, a fire stick costs $60. But if a dude is selling fire sticks, and I ain't talking about jailbroken, I'm just saying if a dude is selling the fire stick for $20, why would you buy it for $60 if it's still in a box wrapped up like a mummy and you know ain't nobody touched it? Why would you do that? Because you don't trust the other person? Oh. Who does money trust? Exactly. Them making money, us spending money. My first priority is us spending money. And as a fan of boxing and all types of sports, shit, I used to watch wrestling back in the day. And look how Vince McMahon was pimping them pay-per-views on niggas. Now look at the landscape of wrestling today. Ain't doing what he used to do, is it? Exactly, man. They was making up pay-per-views back in the day. Wrestling was so big. No mercy. Just take a term like that and call it a pay-per-view. It used to have to be Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, WrestleMania. Now they can have No Mercy, Out for Blood, all like whatever. As long as the card was right. Who you think boxing? Who you think they got? Who you think wrestling got it from? Who you think battle rap got it from? HBO started this format, people. HBO started this format. And the people in their big brains over at HBO, you know what they said? Got to shut it down. Got to shut it down. Nope, we got to tap out on this one. It's just not there. And it's just like rap music. See how the quality of the rap music got worse and worse and worse and worse? And now the sales are worse and worse and worse and worse. But in a market where the sales are as terrible as they've ever been, in the history of rap, total rapper sales per albums put out a year and how many people actually go platinum to how many people actually go gold to how many people actually don't. It's just like that. It's just like that. See, back in the day, Mike Tyson blew pay-per-view up. And because he blew pay-per-view up, other good fights, the success trickled down. Just like with Floyd Mayweather. But see, the general public and the consumer doesn't care as much about these other fights as they do about Floyd Mayweather. So now if Floyd is not on the board, if you don't have that piece to play, and now Canelo Alvarez is somewhere where they are selling it cheap. Anthony Joshua somewhere where they're selling it cheap. GGG selling it cheap. Danny Jacobs, Devin Haney, Tevin Farmer. The list goes on and on and on and on and on and on. They selling it cheap over there at ESPN and they streaming that. If they lower their prices, I'm saying the same thing about them. I can fuck with them too. But when it's somebody else who got a cheap price, I can't then give you 3 times as much for one night when they just gave me a whole month plus all these other motherfucking sports. plus the fight I wanted because it had the fighter I wanted to see in it. And now being under pressure of being a startup company, you got to put big fights on or else you'll fail in the boxing era of the company. You have to put big fights on. So we just saw Canelo Alvarez fight Danny Jacobs. We're going to see Canelo Alvarez probably fight GGG again. We're going to see Anthony Joshua fight Alexander Usyk once he heal up. People, you can't have it all overnight. But when somebody is actually putting a good product out there and it's cheaper than the competitor, I mean, how can you argue that? How can you fuck up a wet dream? Why would you? I mean, to each his own, man. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just trying to say, no matter what, we pay for this shit, and we keep getting screwed, and we keep getting bad fights for top dollars. So death to PPV, death to PPV, death to pay-per-view. Fuck pay-per-view, period. That's it. Ain't no more to it. I'm out, man. Brock Brown, the ODTV. My bad. Like, comment, hate, subscribe, and all that cool shit. Peace.